Hello and welcome to another episode of Company of Heroes History Blitz Edition. Today we're going to look at one of the bugs that plagued the first few patches of Company of Heroes, the Sherman Smoke Canister Ability. This bug was as controversial as it was serious. I need advice, tips, guidelines, cheats, hacks, nukes, what? How do you get around allied smoke? To keep this simple, what the hell are you meant to do when a Sherman pops one? I threw everything at it and it would not hit. Smoke equals impenetrable force field, even at point blank range. I hate the Sherman Smoke. So, why was the smoke ability so controversial, and how powerful was it in reality? We're going to test that today as follows. I'm going to do a series of 1 vs 1 tank battles using no micro beyond pitting front armor versus front armor at roughly maximum range. First, I'll do it 10 times without using smoke, and then 10 more times constantly using the ability. The results I'll record are how many of the 1 vs 1 engagements does each tank win, and what proportion of their combined HP remains for each set of tanks. First up, Shermans versus Stugs. Now, I think most players would assume that the Stug would win this outright by virtue of its powerful frontal armor and the fact that I wasn't using the Sherman's superior maneuverability to attack the rear armor of the Stug. However, in this test, the tanks performed relatively evenly. The Sherman won 6 engagements to the Stug's 4, with both sets of tanks having a little over 10% of their combined HP remaining. Now, if we throw smoke into the mix, we get some interesting results. To my surprise, the Stug still won 4 of the engagements, although with noticeably less HP remaining than in the first test. In the 6 engagements that the Shermans won, they had much more HP remaining, indicating that they had won those engagements more convincingly. All in all, the engagements with smoke went on much longer, with many more shots missing the target entirely. The Shermans were certainly more accurate than the Stugs, but the lack of penetration stopped them from being able to reliably win the engagement. Perhaps we can conclude that the combination of deflections from the Stug's powerful armor and a few 5% bug criticals thrown in for good measure had a larger effect than the benefits of the smoke canister ability. To test this theory, I repeated the tests again with Shermans against Panzer IVs. Without smoke, it was basically a dead heat. Both sets of tanks won 5 engagements and had roughly 10% of their combined HP remaining. However, when smoke was used, the Shermans convincingly won all of the engagements, with roughly half of their combined HP. Despite their higher cost then, the Panzer IVs drastically underperformed against the smoke-covered Shermans relative to the Stug. One explanation is that, lacking the frontal armor of the Stugs, the Panzer IVs were simply unable to stand up to the incoming fire from the Shermans for long enough to roll enough hits to significantly damage those Shermans. So, in conclusion, just how good was the Sherman Smoke Canister Ability? While it did improve the Sherman's performance in both tests, and quite drastically against Panzer IVs, the improvement versus Stugs was actually not enough to significantly change the outcome of a number of 1 vs 1 engagements. As a result, I'd say that it perhaps didn't deserve its reputation as a free win button. It was effective at preserving HP and swinging the result of certain engagements, but let's not forget the cost. After the initial upgrade, each use of the smoke costs 50 munitions, and most engagements required 2 or 3 uses of the ability to give the Sherman enough time to kill the opposing tank. That's pretty darn expensive, given the fact that the opponent could back away in many situations, rendering those munitions wasted. Anyway, that's it for today. Thank you for watching Company of Heroes History, and I hope you'll tune in again next time.